Hi, I'm Tim, and welcome to WatchYouWant.com. Thanks for logging on. Today, we enter the postmodern era of watchmaking with Romain Jerome. If there were one watch that Andy Warhol, Robert Venturi, Thomas Dolby, and Lady Gaga could all agree on, I'm pretty confident it would be this Romain Jerome Moon Invader Pac-Man limited edition from WatchYouWant.com. This thing is the stuff of legend. In the image of the original Bandai Namco character Pac-Man from 1980s, come on, you remember him from the arcades, this watch pays tribute to one of the most popular and most important pioneering video games of all time. Now, I played this one on the Commodore 64 back in the day. Some played it on Atari. Countless others burst their thumbs open in pizza parlors and arcades across America playing the original on arcade. And this watch recaptures all of the energy and the spirit and the fun of those early days of computer games. You've got Pac-Man, you've got subdued, presumably edible ghosts, and bonus point cherries opposing. Now, this model was a special edition coming off the Moon Invader series by Romain Jerome. I'll get to what that means in just a moment, but what you need to know is that it stemmed off the Moon Invader series, and from there was the Space Invader edition, and then Pac-Man, the second of the arcade game themed Romain Jerome Moon Invader watches. Now, there are actually 4 versions of this, each one in an edition of 20. This one features Pac-Man and the subdued black ghosts. You can see their little eyes oogling at Pac-Man right now. I'm presuming that when they're black and sort of conforming to the background of the watch dial, that means they're in edible mode and Pac-Man's on the offensive. Now, the 4 versions are subdued ghosts with cherries, colorful ghosts with cherries, and colorful ghosts without cherries. So basically, you've got 2 versions of ghosts and cherries and no cherries. Those permutations add up to 4. Each one features Pac-Man. I really think it'd be kind of cool if you were a rotating subsidiary second at 9 o'clock. But the bottom line is the characters are loomed, so not only do they jump at you in the day, but they actually glow at night, and that's a very cool touch. Now, Romain Jerome actually did a lot to make sure that the pixelated look, I'm going to try to get this on the camera, but if I don't, forgive me, this is an iPhone. But the pixelated look of these characters is reproduced, and they do that in a 2-step process. The first is to create a 3-dimensional character that actually has raised edges. That's actually the key here. Raised and slightly lustrous edges. They're polished, and then the characters themselves feature a lustrous luminova layer on top of a base layer of black or red or yellow. And that's how they get them to sort of jump off the dial. This is a very complex 3-dimensional, very unconventional guilloche. It's a combination of vertical and horizontal lines to create a pixelated base, and then of course each of the characters is an applied figure, like applied numerals on a conventional watch. It's a lot of fun, and I'll get to the thematically consistent boxed set in just a moment. But I want to talk a bit about the Moon Invader series in general, because this watch kind of has a duality about it, and there are 2 factors that have almost nothing to do with each other that make this a desirable piece. The first is Pac-Man, and that speaks for itself. But the second is the fact that all of the Moon Invader, Pac-Man Moon Invader, and Space Invader Moon Invader, I know how meta can you get, feature actual moon dust. Now, this has been certified, blended with silver, and molded in the form of a small moon disk on the back by Romain Jerome. So every one of these watches actually contains authentic, at least, molecules of the moon. It's part of the, I guess, thematic consistency across the Romain Jerome range. You know, remember, these are the people who brought the Titanic to your wrist. Also, pieces of that unpronounceable Icelandic volcano that shut down air travel over Europe about 3 years ago. So in terms of putting stuff in watches, I would say that no one compares to Romain Jerome right now. So you've got that authentic moon dust case back, and then you've got Pac-Man up front, and it's unified by this interesting, highly articulated multi-level case. Now, the nice thing about this watch is that although it is a 46mm case, quite thick, quite bulky, there's a unique Teflon-coated quadruple ball joint system that allows it to articulate and conform to the wrist very closely. Now, Romain Jerome actually spent a lot of time and money perfecting this system, but each one of those little stanchions that's overarching the side of the case features a ball joint at the bottom, and each one of those ball joints is a Teflon-coated unit in a Teflon-coated socket, and it really does a great job of fitting the wrist. Now, right here you can see my wrist. That's 6 1/3 inches, roughly 16 centimeters for our metric friends. Bonjour. The bottom line is that this watch wears comfortably, and I don't think you ever have to worry about wearing this watch under a cuff. To be perfectly honest, you'd have to be the guys from Dumb and Dumber wearing those pastel suits to think about wearing this thing in black tie. This is not a formal watch. If you wear this to a wedding, I don't even know where to start, but you better be a good friend of the groom. The bottom line is that this watch right here is the definition of a fun, informal timepiece. This is the definition of postmodernism. Fun for fun's sake. You've got an article of pop culture that's referencing an article of pop culture. I don't know how recursive you can get, but this is pushing the limit. Now, the bottom line is that this watch is a big, bold, fun, modern timepiece, and it comes with one of the most entertaining boxed sets I have ever seen. If you remember the original arcade game, you're going to love the box set that comes with this thing. It's basically a piano-lacquered black box with a little viewport so you can actually see the watch. It has buttons and joysticks, and one of the buttons actually releases the top case. So it's got a great bit of theater to it. When you show friends the watch, start with the watch in the box and take them through the whole rigmarole, the whole show, the song and dance, because this watch is all about showmanship. Everything from the strangely non sequitur moon dust and silver on the back, to the playful recollection and representation of Pac-Man, the ghosts, the cherries, and the 80s classic on the front. This is the definition of luxury. It's definitely more than you need. It's more than anyone needs. But with an automatic winding movement, a rugged Romain Jerome RJ-001A, designed for the company by movement artists Concepto, steel case, rubber strap, water resistant. There's really nothing you couldn't do with this watch on a daily basis. This watch is just for fun. More than you need, but you know what? You've got to laugh, and this watch is a great way to smile. So, if you're interested in vintage video games, if you have nostalgia for the old days of Pac-Man, ghosts, cherries, and bonus points, I don't know, maybe you remember Mrs. Pac-Man. If you have good associations from this series, check out this Romain Jerome Moon Invader Pac-Man limited edition, one of 20 made in this style from WhatYouWant.com with full boxes and papers, manuals, all accessories. Check it out in high-res imagery on our website, WhatYouWant.com.